Hey guys and gals, and welcome to another video from the team here at BlenderTech.com. If you enjoy it or learn something from the video, consider liking it and to subscribe for more Blender, Unity 3D coding, and all sorts of other CG related videos. Lastly, don't forget our motto, create your way. So in today's add-on showcase, I'm going to be showing off Archimesh. Now, Archimesh has been around for quite a while. They've had quite a few versions. It's made by this user, Antonioya, and he released it on blenderartist.org, but he has a GitHub for it, and there's been some new releases lately, and this is a very useful add-on for doing all sorts of architectural stuff, and it can definitely save you some time in modeling stuff. So I want to show you the power of it. So first, I want to show you how to download it and install it, because a user was asking about this specifically. So if you already have the add-on, or you already know how to use GitHub and stuff, then just ignore the next minute or so. So anyways, we have a download link here, and it brings up the GitHub page. And so we want the newest version, which is version 1.0.2. You click on Archimesh 1.0.2, and then you click raw to download it. So now we open it, and it comes up with the zip file with the Archimesh folder. We just want to extract the Archimesh folder. So where we want to extract them to is go to My Computer, go to C, and then to Users, and then to your name. Now we have to go into app data, and it's a hidden folder by default, so you might not see it. If you don't see app data, then that means you have hidden folders turned on. If you want to know how to turn it off, just Google how to show hidden folders in Windows 7 or Vista or 8 or whatever OS you're using. So anyways, into app data, and then we go into roaming, and then Blender Foundation, and then Blender, and then we choose the current version that we're using. So you go into your version number, and then you go to scripts, and then you go to add-ons, and then you simply just extract the folder into the add-ons folder. Now, the next time you start Blender, all you have to do is go to your user preferences, so File, User Preferences, or Control-Alt-U, and then just search up the name. So Archimesh, and here it is. So we know how to do this. Just check it off and hit save. So this is a very powerful add-on, so I'm going to show you how to use this. Now you'll see room generator down here, so that's going to be one that I'm going to show you how it works. So keep your end panel open, and you can keep your T panel open, because you'll see at the very bottom we now have Archimesh, so that's definitely one thing you can do. But you can also just go to Shift A, obviously, or Add Mesh, whichever one you prefer. Add a mesh, and then you have Archimesh. You see we have the exact same thing, so it's all the same as here. What you don't have in Mesh Archimesh is room from draw. So I'm going to show that one off because it's pretty cool. So you have pencil tools, room from draw. So we have to go into top view and turn off perspective. And so it's going to draw a room for us based on our grease pencil strokes. And we can make it also add a ceiling, a floor, and we can make it close the walls. Let's just leave the options off for now. So first you have to do grease pencil strokes. So I'm gonna hold down D, and I'm gonna just draw a room. Obviously, it's not straight, but I'm going to leave it just like that. So let's see what happens. Room from draw. So as you can see, it's averaged out where my strokes are, and what it's created is a series of walls, and they've got baseboards. The baseboards are a separate mesh, so you can delete them if you don't want them, but it creates very quick rooms like that. You can see how powerful it is, but let's try the options. Let's try a ceiling, a floor, and close, and let's see what that does. So I'm gonna draw some strokes again. And if you use the poly draw brush, it's obviously, or the line draw brush, it's gonna come out better and it's gonna be more accurate. All right, let's try it out. And obviously my lines weren't straight enough, but you can see it's now added a ceiling. It's added. Let's turn off the ceiling. It's added a floor, so that's very useful. Now, not itself, you'd have to texture it and everything. It's still got its baseboards, and it's closed all walls in, anywhere that I screwed up grease pencil strokes. And this is just the old one in here. So yeah, you can see how that works, and it's very, very powerful. But let me show off some more features of it. Alright, so let's just add single elements here, and I'm going to do this from the Add Mesh window. So let's add Archimesh. Let's do room one more time. So I'm going to add a room, and you can see we have this, I'm going to just show off the room generator now. So what you have is you have a height, which is the height of the walls, and then thickness, obviously it gives thickness to your walls, and inverse just swaps the normals. It goes the other way, so that's how that works. And number of walls you can add on. So you can see we have a triangle wall here. So let's add 4 walls, but you can see it really gets funky. So why is that? Well, that's because we have to adjust the length of the wall. So wall 1, you can see which one we're adjusting here. So let's make it pretty long, about 5 units. Wall 2, okay, that's that one. We'll make that one 5 units. Wall 3, well, let's make that 2 units. Wall 4, let's make that 5 units. So now you can see that it's made this triangle wall. If we don't want that, we might have to add another wall and make it a certain length. And so you can see how this creates certain walls. What's the math? Oh yeah, -7. So there, you can see it's created a nice little setup for us with baseboards. And the thickness still works all the way through, and it also has advanced options, so you can change the angle. So you can see now angles wall 1. It can do curved. You can get a nice perfect hemisphere. 0 is straight, but you can go all the way in between, and you can even expand it way out to make it so that it's like really oddly curved, and it goes up to a factor of 5. When you click curve, let's go back to a factor of 1, you can change the degree, which basically just says how many degrees it's going to curve around. I don't know what point it works off of exactly, and you obviously also have steps, which increases or decreases the quality. So 2 steps, you know, you can see how you can make different walls that way, or you can just bump it up to have a really smooth wall. And lastly, visible does that, and baseboard just gives you baseboards on that wall. Wall just gives you a wall with no baseboards, and hidden makes it completely gone. But I believe, yeah, it still leaves the points there for you to use, so it's technically still there. That is the room generator. Oh yeah, it also creates cycles materials for you. So now if we edit the room, we have the wall, so it just has a wall material here. So if we go into the node editor quick, you can see it creates a nice little setup for you. But anyways, yeah, that's how the room generator works. So enough of that. Oh, and you can also click ceiling, and it'll add a ceiling to all your rooms in the exact shape. You can add a floor, and it'll do the same thing. And close walls just closes any walls that wouldn't normally be closed. So that is that. So we can get rid of our end panel now. So I'll move cursor back to center. So let's add a door this time. So it gives you a nice little door. And if you hit F6, or you can open up your T panel and you have the operator panel, obviously, you can choose the frame width. So you can see how that affects the total size. You have the frame height, so that affects the total height. You have the frame thickness, so that's how thick the frame is, and your frame size, so that makes the frame a bigger ratio compared to the door. And you have rotation. You can rotate your door a certain amount of degrees, and you have open side, so you have left open, right open, or both sides, so you have a dual door. And it also has a bunch of models, so model 1, so yeah, that's really neat if you need to add a door really quickly. Let's move on to window. Now, you may have used the window generator script before. I prefer this one. This one's way more powerful. So you have this stock window here, but you have a ton of options. You have a rail window, you have a 2-leaf window, which is kind of like, you might not have seen a window like this before, but it makes sense that there's 2 of them. You have a right leaf, and then you have a left leaf. And you can adjust the width, obviously, the depth, the height, the window frame. Again, that's the ratio. You can rotate it again. Oh, this doesn't expand. You have external front frame, so that's just a frame in the front. It's a small difference, but you can see it's just this little piece here that extrudes up. So it's an external frame. Create default handle to the leaf. If you uncheck that, it gets rid of the handle where it should be. Leaf ratio, if we go to a 2 leaf, just defines how far in and out the windows are. And frame is somehow another ratio of the frame. I'm not sure what the oh, I see. Okay, so you have the actual window size and then the actual frame. And it creates a nice sill on the other side. So you can turn that on or off. But again, you can go thickness, you can go back thickness and front thickness. And create default cycles materials. So again, it's going to create all the materials for you. And if you go to the window, it's created a nice glass material. And again, if we hop into the node editor, it's created perfect glass. So it actually uses the light path node to create realist, like 100% physically correct glass, not just a cheap glass shader. So anyways, so we kind of know how Windows works. Let's add cabinets. Now this is kind of interesting. Again, if you're making interior models, this comes in very useful. It can save you some modeling time. So again, you have thickness. You can adjust how thick they are. You have height. You can adjust how high they are. You have depth. That obviously makes itself apparent. The type of handle, again, you have a bunch of different models. I'm not going to go through them. You have the displacement in X relative position limited to door size. So that's where you can position the handle. The floor origin in Z equals 0. You can just move via origin up and down. Number of cabinets, those where it comes in useful. You can add multiple cabinets. Blender crashed on me. The script is stable. It's Blender 2.73. That's the first time it's ever crashed on me. So anyways, back to cabinets. We're using wall ones. Let's just do 2 so it doesn't get screwed up. So you now see that we have options for cabinet 1 and 2. So cabinet 1 can be really, let's say, really narrow. You can't see, you have to read the tooltips here, but you have different depths, so it can stick out maybe. Then you have, and it can stick up, and you can move the whole thing over, and you can move it back or forward. You can obviously go like that. So yeah, you can do some really funky stuff. And a rotation, you can rotate them. It obviously makes sense. Number of shelves you won't see in this style. Door, there's all sorts of doors, and there's just a single type of handle, your typical cabinet handle. But I'm just going to show you how the shelves work. So if we add a glass door, and if you add a number of shelves, if I turn on rendered, you should be able to see them. You can see that it's added shelves in our cabinet, and it's physically correct glass. But yeah, that's kind of cool. So you can add shelves in there. Let's move on to, we did cabinets, shelves. Shelves I find very useful if you're doing interior models, because they're easy enough to model, but you can get some really funky things with this. So you have side thickness, that makes sense. It's the thickness of the sides. You have shelf thickness, that makes sense. It's the thickness of the shelves. You have depth, so you can make them as deep or as narrow as you want. You have height, so that just expands it. The bottom just sets where the bottom is going to be, so you could think of like those metal shelves. They kind of start like that, and you have top. It does the same thing just from the top. The floor origin doesn't do anything in this thing. You have full side. You have 4 legs, so that's again like those metal kind. And then you have none, so it's just shelves that would be like hanging on the wall. And then you can have number of units, so you can add multiple ones, and then again you should, yeah, then you get a different operator for each kind, so you can play with each one. You have how much it goes out, you have how high it goes up, you can turn on and off the left and right sides. This one adjusts the whole thing left and right. This one adjusts the single one forward and back, and this one adjusts the single one up and down. This one adjusts each single shelf manually. So very, very, very useful. I'm not going to go into unit 2, and again, it creates materials for you. Very useful. So let's go on to the next one. Shelves, columns can be useful, but they're nice sometimes, but they don't really look that great in my opinion. The total height, You can turn on or off the base, and you can change the size of it, obviously. You have a top, same deal. You can include a circular base. That wouldn't really do anything though, so I would not include the rectangular base, and it would do that. But obviously that doesn't fit in our size, so we'd have to turn the size way up. So yeah, not quite so useful. You can have a top arch, which can come in sometimes useful if you're creating some weird funky things, and you can create an array, so you can have multiple ones of them for making, I don't know, like really fancy garages and stuff. And yeah, so you have count X and count Y. So kind of cool. Again, it creates the material. Let's quickly show off circular. You can have keep radius equal. If you turn that off, when you adjust the top radius, you can get these funky shapes that allows you to now really adjust the shape of them. I tend not to use them too often. So anyways, let's move on to the next one. You have stairs. Again, these aren't that useful because I don't find them too realistic. So yeah, obviously you can change the number of steps. You can change the width of them, the depth, and the shift. So that's hard to describe, but you can see what it does. You can have variable width. You can see how that makes kind of like, again, I don't know how to describe it, but you can see how that works. You can close the sides, so it just makes like a, well, it closes the sides. And then you have thickness. So the thickness of the stairs, the height, you have the front. So that's those little like board things. You can make them pop out a little bit, and you have sides, so you can make those go off like that a little bit. And again, it creates materials. And you also have rounded. Without having railings, it's better to model them yourself sometimes. Let's move on to roof. This comes in useful all the time. I use it all the time, especially when I want this look, the little Spanish tile look. But you have different models. So model 4 is more like your typical like tin plating. Now they all use the stock red material, but you can see it creates cycles material, so you can change that. And then yeah, you just adjust the tiles that you need, and you can adjust the tile scale and the thickness, and you can adjust the slope. Let's move on to props. So yeah, if you're doing interior scenes, this is pretty cool. You have books. Whoops. Now it may seem kind of boring at first, but what's really cool is you can randomize it. So you can make some thick and some thick or thin. Same with the depth. So you obviously wouldn't want to turn that up too much, but you could turn it up just a little bit. And the same with the height. You could have some just slightly higher than the rest. And affinity just is basically kind of like a seed value. And rotation, you can rotate your books, obviously. So you can have some that lean over and some that don't. And this is a random value, obviously, like that. And again, it creates cycles materials, and you can adjust the hue and saturation of them. And you have randomness when it comes to the hue and saturation, so you can create books that have different colors. Now, this is great if you just want a quick little prop, but if you want something very realistic, obviously it's very easy to model a book that looks like this. These are basically just simple cubes with some extruded faces. You can see, yeah, it's either model them yourself or UV unwrap these and then add some actual covers and side to them so that they look like real books. But hey, from a distance, if you just need a books prop, they look great. Anyways, let's move on to the last couple. We have a lamp. That's a great placeholder, but you have predefined ones. So let's start with sphere. So yeah, you can adjust the height of it, but you can get some really interesting lamp shapes, and you can uncheck smooth. I guess that would actually help. You can see segments is the amount of segments. What do you call that? Circularly, and rings is obviously vertically how many rings you have. So yeah, you can get some really interesting shapes. Lamp holder, that adjusts how high up and down it is, and then yeah, you have all sorts of options here. You can just play with it all day long. Lampshade, you can also adjust that. You can change again the segments, make it smooth, make it triangular, make it square, whatever. And yeah, you can kind of change it like that. You can change it like that. The light, I believe that's just it sets the strength of the light in watts, because I believe it uses an emission shader for the light. Translucency is the translucency of the lampshade. Pleats adds pleats to it, kind of hard to see here. Yeah, you can see how it's pleated now. And again, you can change the hue and saturation from here. and it creates all the materials for the lamp and everything. So if I went into rendered, I believe the lamp, yeah, the lamp lights it up, and quite realistically in my opinion. So I do use that sometimes. So let's go into the last two, which are quite useful in my opinion, or the last three, I guess. You have roller curtains. Not that useful, I guess, but for a placeholder it's great. You just have width and height, but yeah, it's basically just it's a simple blind setup. But what's really useful, and I use a lot, is Venetian blinds. So these are the typical blinds you find in most North American homes, and you can adjust obviously the width, the height, and the slat thickness. And you can have it extended, or you can retract it, and you can see how when you retract it all the way, they act just like real blinds. They pull up on themselves, and you can change the angle at which the slats are, so you can have them fully closed, fully open. And again, you can adjust the material from in here. So I use that all the time on top of my windows instead of using the stock Windows blinds. So that's one of my favorites. And then you also have Japanese curtains. Now this used to crash Blender for me, so I don't really know how they work. I've actually never used them before because it always used to crash my Blender, but it seems like he's fixed it. So yeah, I'm really not accustomed to this. I really don't know how it works. So you can see how that works. It's kind of just a slight offset there. I turn on the geometry, you can see how that works. So that's kind of neat. I can see some usefulness there. If you made that transparent, that could be a cool look. So yeah, that is, I believe, everything in Archimesh. So yeah, it can be very, very, very useful when you want to create architectural models, especially if you need to do something quickly for a customer that needs an architectural model done up. No problem. Instead of spending time modeling, you just add your stuff in. But anyways, this has gone on way too long, so thanks for watching from the team here at BlenderTech.com. If you enjoyed this video and learned something, please like it and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. If you dislike this video for some reason, don't just hit the thumbs down button and leave. Instead, please leave a comment, or if it's private, email us at info@blendertech.com about what you did not like, so we can continually improve our videos based on your community input. When we created Blender Tech, that's the base goal that we wanted. We wanted to have it community based. We also take requests and call for help, so if you have a problem or if you want to see something, just let us know and we'll make it up. So see you next time. Remember, create your way.